some of y'all really came away from reading A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift and thought, that Swift guy, he needs to be investigated because he is definitely at his house literally eating babies. So many of you are so quick to tell us in the comment section that you are an ally to marginalized and oppressed groups, except when things get a little too real, when people use big, hyperbolic, bold, sometimes violent language to talk about their oppressors. And then you say, listen, I'm on your side, but I don't agree with this angry language of yours. I don't agree with the ways that you are being so big and so bold and painting certain sections of society, billionaires, with such a broad brush. I just think you need to be a little bit more reasonable with people, right? Now, let me just explain something to you. If you hear a marginalized or oppressed person using big, bold, hyperbolic, sometimes violent language, the very first question you should be asking yourself is, why? What societal infrastructure, what things have happened to that person or group that have led them to say, you know what, I'm done being nice, and here I am now. Are you with me or not? Because if not, we're still going. I mean, do you have any idea the sharp increase in hate crimes against queer people? The FBI does. Hate crimes against LGBTQ plus Americans have seen a 70% increase since 2020. And that was just from 2020 to 2021. We still don't have all of the statistics about last year. Do you have any idea how many hundreds of laws are being passed right now at the state and local level all around the country, criminalizing our existence in public? Because the HRC does, and this is the amount. Have you heard what these people are saying at their own conferences, are saying in front of cameras where other people can see them? Because I've heard it.
Basically, this is an evangelistic movement on the left, and that's what's happening. It's indoctrination. I mean, they are proselytizing to the next generation. And what we're discovering as parents and conservatives is, wait a second, education really is evangelism. So if you don't control education, you cannot control the future. And Stalin knew that, Mao knew that, right? Hitler knew that. We have to get that back for conservative values.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. Then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated.
There is a very loud, very vocal, very violent group of people who currently run things or are trying to run things that want everyone who is not cisgender, heterosexual, white, and Christian to no longer exist. They want us dead. They don't want us to be around anymore. So they tell you that queer people by our very existence are groomers and pedophiles. Our existence in public is somehow a political act meant to convert your children. We're all after your kids. They're trying to program you to get to think of us as predators so that when they pass laws and they're telling you it's to keep us away from your kids so that we don't hurt your kids, you believe them. And you're like, yeah, I mean, of course I want to protect my kids. I mean, they should be allowed to do what they want, but I want to protect my kids. You know, around his birthday, a lot of people like to trot out a lot of very hopeful quotes by Martin Luther King Jr. And a lot of the times they forget this one. If you are hearing bold, angry, violent rhetoric from a marginalized or oppressed person, instead of telling them, hey, you know what? You need to tone it down because you catch more flies with honey. You need to be a little bit more reasonable. Because listen, I want to be your ally and I'm here with you, but I just don't know that this is the way to win an argument. You can't use this angry language because they're just not going to listen. We've tried polite. We've tried staying at home, but you all come and you send your police to peek in our windows to make sure we're not fucking. Lawrence v. Texas. We've tried saying, okay, so I guess if we're going to be out in public, we're just going to read children's stories. We're going to go to the library and we're going to read kids' stories, and we're going to show positive portrayals of the queer community, and apparently that's grooming. You're caping for people who are right now buying up Supreme Court justices like they're Pokemon cards. The same exact Supreme Court justices, funny enough, that are currently publicly advocating for the overturning string of Obergefell v. Hodges and Lawrence v. Texas and a bunch of other court cases that have provided just the tiniest amount of rights to marginalized and oppressed groups all over the country. And you think these people are on your side? So if you're actually our ally, Katie, I need to know that you're not just our ally in the comments section, and that you're our ally in the voting booth, and in the streets, and with your homophobic family, and in your place of work. I need you to be a physical shield. The world is a violent place, and the violence is targeted to those who do not have power and position. So if when you hear violent rhetoric aimed at those in a place of power, in a place of oppression, in the kind of place where they have the money and the power and the influence that if they wanted to, they could end something like homelessness tomorrow, but they're choosing not to, those people are not the good guys, Katie. If you have the ability to end societal inequities in big, massive ways, and you're choosing not to, you're not the good guy. And if you're hearing big, bold rhetoric, angry rhetoric, violent rhetoric, and it's making you uncomfortable, good. You should be uncomfortable because we're scared to death. Hope this helps.